Hello, everyone. This is a new episode of Headliners, and today I have a very special guest, Lewis Borsellino. Lewis, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Lewis is a real trading legend. He started his career more than 40 years ago and was responsible for more than 10% of the world trading volume in S&P 500 trading pit. So, Lewis, the first question for you, how did you start? Because now a lot of people from the younger generation, they found that trading maybe can change their life or it can become their profession. How did you start all of these years ago, and why do you choose trading for your profession?
Yeah, that's an interesting story. So I graduated college in 1979 in May, and 2 days after I graduated college, my dad was murdered, and I ended up driving a truck. He had a small trucking company. As I was driving a truck, I knew I wasn't going to be a truck driver. I was looking to liquidate the assets, and I was playing handball, which is the equivalent to racquetball at a local YMCA. And there was a trader there by the name of Lou Matta. I was looking at gold futures, and I was saying, you know what? Gold has gone from $300 to $700 an ounce.
And now it's booming.
Yeah, right? It's over 3,000. So back then, I wanted to open up a trading account. And the gentleman said to me, you don't want to do that. He goes, you're going to open up a trading account. You don't know what you're doing. Why don't you come down here and see what it's about? So the first day I walked on the floor in 1980 on the trading floor of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, I opened up that door and all I saw was yelling, screaming, people pushing and shoving. The energy was incredible. And so I got a job as a runner, literally taking orders from the order desk to the pits that correspond with the order. So, there was a lumber pit. There was back then there was a T-bill pit, foreign currencies, D-mark, Japanese yen, live cattle, pork bellies, things like that. So, and the gold pit. Well, fortunately for me, my mother was a legal secretary to a guy who was the biggest gold trader in the country, and his name was Maury Kravitz, who actually was Leo Melamed, who was the chairman of the exchange's law partner. So my mom was their legal secretary. I walked in there with an order and knocked on his shoulder and said, hey, Maury, I've been working here as a runner. He said, hey, why don't you call me? Because he came to my dad's funeral and he's, my mom worked for him for like 8 years, and he goes, I'll have a job for you in 2 weeks. And 2 weeks later, I was his clerk. So it was fortuitous that I actually wanted to go and be a trader, right? And then it was fortuitous that Maury Kravitz and Leo, another gentleman by the name of Jack Sander, who also became the chairman of the exchange, was their law partners. And
Wow.
So I actually was dealing with the people that were running the exchange, and I got a job 2 weeks after I worked as a runner. And that was the start of my trading endeavors.
Can you explain how it was? Because I have never, ever been in a trading pit. How people understand who makes a deal? Because if everybody is yelling, how to understand who is selling, who is buying, how to shake hands, how to make a deal.
Yeah. It looks so disorganized, but it's the most organized disorganization you ever want to see, because you're in the one pit. Let's say you're just trading gold, right? What happened is the market says, you can see when you see on a dome now, the markets move up and down with price movement,
Yeah.
like buys and sellers, right? When there's more buyers than sellers, the market goes up. When there are more sellers than buyers, the market goes down. Same thing in the pit, but we had to find a way to communicate it with each other, right? So if you were bidding, you would yell, half on 20, 55 on 20, 60 on 20, right? So you had the price and the quantity. And if you were selling, it was 20 at a half, 20 at 30, right? And you had to have your hands this way if you're a buyer, this hands if you're a seller. And then what we had was communications of what the quantity was, right? So if you bought one, it was one. If you bought 10, it was index finger to the head. If you bought 20, it was here. If you bought 22, it was 22. And then the other guy would follow up with, the other broker would follow up, sell 22, right?
Okay.
At a half, right?
How to
Jargon.
make an agreement? Like
Just by eyesight. So you bid half on 20. Go ahead, half on 20. Bid it. You. Say it, half on 20.
have fun.
Sold.
That's all?
Yeah. Then me and you would look at each other and I would go, hey, I sold you 20 at a half. You would go, I bought 20 at a half. We'd write it down on our trading card.
You write down in a trading card.
Yes. And then on the trading cards, we had to have price, quantity, who the broker was. So my badge was LBJ.
Okay.
Yours would be KRIL,
Okay.
right? And then we had to put the clearing firm. So if it was Merrill Lynch or Salomon Brothers or RBH or whatever. And then we had to put the bracket the time that we made the trade. We turned it into the exchange, got key punched. The next day, it was a clear trade.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's the same thing you get on computers.
But how does the price change?
Same way it does on a dome.
No,
So-
if all the deals were made like this on a
Well,
paper that
it
will be
could-
cleared on the next day.
Yeah, because here's the thing you're not understanding. All the orders before there were computers all came to the exchange, were handwritten, and a runner like myself would take that order into the broker, and then the broker will have it what he calls as a deck, right? So if you have your deck, when you look at a dome, domes go up and down, right? So there's depth in the dome. Well, I used to fill the orders in the paper dome. So it was built just like a dome that you see on a trading thing. So I would have a bunch of orders in descending order that were my buys, and whoever it was. Like I filled for Merrill Lynch and Salomon Brothers and Goldman Sachs, and right. So it'd have their paper, and it would be in my desk in my deck in descending order. On the descending side, we had buys and sell stops, right? So if you wanted to put a sell stop in, it was in the deck, right? And then on the ascending order, it was sells and buy stops. So it's the same thing as you see in a dome, but it was all written paper, right? And then all those orders, there was no computer setting stuff in.
That's why I'm asking.
Right. When you think about high frequency trading, what do? They get in front of the orders.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Right? Well, when we were in the pit, if I was filling a big order for, let's say, buy 1,000 contracts of gold, as I started bidding it up, the guys would realize that I was buying stuff, so they would try to get in front of me. Right.
That's right.
And then that's how that's how we it worked. Right. And you think about retailer traders, we're only there to provide liquidity for the big institutions, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. Game hasn't changed. We are there to provide liquidity. And then what we tried to do was what we called scalping.
Yeah.
Basically how can I make 3 ticks on a 10 lot?
Oh, really?
Right. So
In a pit.
In the pit, yeah. Right. So the nice thing was if the guy behind me was a big order, well, I was a big order filler, right? And I was long, and I would see someone offering like 20 and a half, and I go buy them. And all of a sudden, a big order comes in. Now I'm marking the order. I'm making them go half, 75, 80, 90, even, and I would just keep bidding the market.
That's what I want to ask. How do you deal with the big orders? Because it's interesting. Wow.
Right.
What was your biggest loss?
My biggest loss. I was pretty good. Maybe a couple of times I lost about $200,000 in one day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But how do you, let's say, predict? Maybe it's an incorrect word, but how do you analyze the market? How do I understand the price action, where the price goes up and down? What was the reason? How do you make decisions?
One of the things I figured out early in my career, because I was filling orders.
Okay.
Right. And when you look on a dome, you see all the orders coming in. Well, I was able to see, let's just say the price was 70, right? And all of a sudden, I had 5 different firms entering buys in at that price at 70. And I'm going, I got Merrill Lynch buying there. I got Goldman Sachs buying there, so on.
So the price will go up.
Right. Well, they were all at that price. And then maybe there was some other people in at 65 and some people at 60 and so on. So I started realizing there was a thing called technical analysis. And when you see a bunch of stuff with stops and things conjugating in one price, like you would see the buy stops all come in at one level, right? So let's say it was a breakout.
Yeah.
Right. We all look at breakouts, right? And so
in crypto, we call it liquidations.
Yeah. So what we do is they'd have the buy stops up there, and that meant either someone's going to initiate a long at that stop, or they were getting out of their shorts, right? And I was filling and trading orders. If I knew I had buy like 1,000 buy stops at a price, I was going to protect myself and buy them. And then once in a while, we would just set the stops off, and then it's sort of legalized trading in front of the customer order.
Yes. That's what I want to say, that it looks like you're trading like in an order book.
It wasn't. I had my own order book.
Yeah, that's why.
My order book in the pit, and there was, 100 other guys like me. They had order books, except I had the biggest one.
Can you explain me how does short positions works there on a trading floor?
Same thing. If you put a short on.
But technically, you will need to learn.
It's different than stock trading, right? So if you're going to be a stock trader, and you want to short, you have to borrow stock to sell against it.
But any futures you don't need?
No, it's all cash settlement. So meaning if I sell, 20 cars at 70 and buying back at 50, it's the same as me buying them at 50, selling them at 70. So the rules in commodity trading is that it's a cash settlement, so it doesn't matter if you initiate a long or a short first.
Where was the balance? Where was exactly your money?
So I had a clearing firm
Okay.
that I had my trading account at.
Yeah.
And all my trades got calculated at the end of the day. And if I made...
And then it's made a difference. Oh, I get it. Wow.
So I mean, it's the same thing like you. When you do your trading for the day, it gets cleared out. The clearing firm matches them. And then you look, if you got money in your account because you made money, it's there. Same thing.
What was your biggest win in a day?
In 87, in the crash, I made $1.4 million in like 13 seconds.
What do you mean, like 13 seconds?
13 seconds. Like
how it can be?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 1.4 million.
What was the size of the position?
It was the 300 contracts. In 1987, when the crash came, that Black Monday, that Friday.
I read about it.
I wasn't there. I was in Europe. I was actually in Lugano, Switzerland. And I was there with a bunch of guys that were older than me. I'd never been to Europe. And they said, hey, we're going to Europe. And one of the guys actually had a company that supplied McDonald's with all its meat around the world. Wow. So he was a pretty big hitter. And I met him at the country club playing golf. And so we were literally, he invited me to go to Europe with him. And so I left Friday afternoon, short 20 contracts, or it's Friday morning before Black Monday. And by the time I got to O'Hare Airport from downtown Chicago, I was up $250,000 on a trade. So I got out of it and I told my clerk, hey, send everybody, I had about 5 clerks who worked for me. I said, send everybody on vacation. You go on vacation. I'll be back in a week. Make sure you flatten me out because, I think there's going to be a big bounce on Monday morning.
You expected this? Yeah,
I thought there was going to be a big bounce, right? Because up to that Friday, people don't realize, guys, 1987, I don't think, were you born yet?
1991. It was far long ago before my date of birth.
So in 1987, if the Dow moved 30 points, that was headline news. The high in 1987 was 3,500. What are we at now? 40,000?
40,000, yeah.
Something like that. So it was 3,500, and it lost 50% of its net worth within 3 days when you take in money. Too. We went to Europe, bunch of guys. Right? Okay. So we're in Lucerne, Switzerland, and I drive down into town and I go to Piaget and I want to buy my wife a watch because I was in Europe screwing around with a bunch of guys, right?
Yeah.
I'd bring her home a watch. Right? I just made $250,000, right? As I was sitting there, I'm looking outside and it looked like the Zurich Bank building. I saw the ticker tape literally going, it said the Dow was down 500 points. And I'm like, hey, there's got to be something wrong with that. That thing's broke. And the guy goes, oh, no, monsieur, don't you know? The United States stock market crashed today. And so on. So I was running out of the store and the clerk was going, hey, can I have my watch back? I had the watch in my hand. So I gave him the watch. I went back to the hotel and there was a phone call from my wife and my brother. I said, you got to get home. Lewis, he goes, I made like $500,000 for today. And if you were here, you'd have made $5 million. He goes, it was crazy. The world is melting. I think they're going to close this place. So how was I going to get home? So I called British Airlines and got on the Concorde. So literally...
It was at times when the Concorde was already
was flying.
Wow.
Right? So literally what I did was I flew from Switzerland to
Chicago.
London. No, to London.
London.
I got on the Concorde and then flew to New York. And then from New York, I went to the trading floor and I got there Tuesday afternoon. Literally, I was one of the guys who flew to Concorde, which was really cool. I mean,
because I get it. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's 3 hour flight.
All of them was quite stressed. But you, after this flight,
and on top of that, I had some positions on.
Yeah, sure.
I had some Eurodollar call options on, and my credit card wouldn't work. I was trying to get it to work on the phones. Back then, you had to put the credit card in. I don't know, it was worn out or it wasn't. So I looked at the stewardess and I took out $100 bill. I go, here's $100. Let me use your credit card. She goes, what? I go, let me use your credit card. She gave her credit card. Now I called the floor. I had this Eurodollar position where I was long 1,094 calls, and they had gone in the cabinet. So they're really expiring worthless. And then at 94 calls, the market was at like 92.50. And then that morning, after Black Monday, the market opened up at like 94.5. So I had like $1 million made on that call position, and I didn't know about it. because I was on a plane flying back. So by the time I got back to the floor Tuesday afternoon, that position was worth about $250,000. So I liquidated it, got out. And then I went on trading that day, made another couple $100,000 that day. And then I made like Wednesday, I made like $150,000. And then that Thursday was the famous trade that's been written up in a lot of different trading things. And so what happened was the Shearson broker walks into the pit, and we're getting a pre-morning call before the markets open, right? So it's about 2 or 3 minutes before the market opened. He's looking at me. He goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "I don't know. What are you doing?" He goes, so there's you got to remember, there's a big octagon with 500 people in it, but there are always people that were market makers, and I was one of the biggest traders. So people were always looking for me for, some sort of opening market call or whatever. So the guy looks at me and he goes, "I'm 1,000 lower." I go, "Yeah, well, I'm 2,000 lower." And he goes, "Well, I'm 3,000 lower." He goes, "Well, I'm 4,000 lower." "Well, I'm 5,000. The bell rings, and I go, "Buy him." But he had already got tackled by a bunch of guys, and people behind me. One of the brokers says, "I'll sell you 300. I go, "Where?" He goes, "I don't care. I'll sell them at the low. I don't care. I'm out." Right? He was just trying to fill his order. And by the time I wrote it down on my card and so on, I'm looking, the market was just quiet. I mean, like we were 5,000 lower. This is before there were market circuit breakers. And nobody's like, we're all looking at each other.
And it's quiet.
It's like, we're shocked that the market opened 5,000 lower. And then a rush of energy comes in with all these buyers. We're buying the market, pulling up. So I get an attention of a guy across the pit, and he goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "I'm a seller." He goes, "I got 200. I sold him 200. Then another guy goes, "I'll sell you 50. So now I'm trying to get flat, right? Because I had bought like 300. I bought some other little stuff of the S&P futures that morning. And then I gave my clerk my cards. I had a clerk that always stood next to me and was like, did all my instant P&L, right? So they would get all my buys, this and that, and make sure what my position.
So you walked in a pair?
Yes.
I get it.
So we had to know if, if I was not short or not long, right?
Yeah, sure.
Because I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, I get it.
All I did was make trades and
trades and
doing everything, right?
You need someone.
So she comes back and she goes, "If I'm right, you made $1.4 million. I go, "What?" He goes, "You made $1.4 million. I started shaking, and I walked out of the pit, and I went in the washroom, and I just threw up. I mean, I was like thinking that in my mind, I was thinking everything I've been working for and the money I was making, I could have lost it in a matter of seconds if that market just kept going. It was 5,000 lower. What if it went 10,000 lower, right? Fortunately for me, that didn't happen. And that's the famous error that was made by Shearson. People don't realize that for the longest time, George Soros always cleared Shearson. And that's because that error cost $60 million. And what happened was they had a 2,500 lot, and then that 2,500 lot, they put it in twice. So instead of selling 2,500, they sold 5,000. And now they realized they had to get out of it. It cost a lot of money, and Shearson had to eat it, So that was the folklore of why he always cleared Shearson. Funny, it was about a year later, Shearson and George Soros sued the S&P pit.
Oh.
And then they named me.
Really?
Yeah, me and two other guys, and they were like, so, we go to deposition. I don't even have a lawyer. I'm looking at the guy, and he goes, "Well, what made you say the market's going to be 1,000 lower?" I go, "I felt it was going to be 1,000 lower." He goes, "Well, what if it wasn't?" I go, "I don't know. What does it matter?" He goes, "Well, how could you say that you're going to sell it 1,000 lower?" I said, "You see this badge here? I bought a membership. I have money in my account, and I get to make a market." And I made the market. He goes, "Well, you said 1,000, and we went through the whole story, 2,000, 3,000. Yeah. He goes, "Then you wanted to buy it." I go, "I thought it was a good buy at 5,000 lower." And so they were trying to say that we colluded.
Yeah, I get it. And they tried to
disclose the order. Yeah. And, of course, it never went anywhere, but it was interesting, right? It used to be the thing about open archive.
What were the role of the market makers back to these days?
Well, they weren't really market makers back then. We were all market makers. Like if you're an individual trader, you went in the pit and you made markets. You would provide a bid, basically wherever the market was at, right? So, when you think about people's opinions that are sitting behind a screen somewhere, everybody's got an opinion, right? And you could put those orders in. And so when we were in the pit, all the locals, those are guys that weren't filling paper, they had an opinion whether the market was going to go up or down. And what they really tried to do was to get in front of the customer orders or to try to align themselves with the people that were institutional traders. So one of the things that I discovered very, very soon, because I was filling so much paper, was that there were some guys that was always right, but it may take 2 or 3 days. Like they buy 200-300 over a few days, and then boom, unemployment comes out, and these guys, were right. Was that a good guess, or were they all guys? Were they getting inside information? Right.
I guess.
So I was really good at understanding the paper, like where the institution guys were at. Most people played a sport or some athletic thing in their life, and when you do things like trading is like game day every day. If you got a game on Friday night,
it's good. Sorry, game day every day. Wow, it's amazing.
It's game day every day. I mean, you can't go in there and say, I'm just going to screw around today.
Yeah.
Because you're going to lose money, right? The emotional stress, and this is a lot of times when I talk to retail traders, you've got to understand, this is not something you can do part-time. If you think you can do it part-time, trade options, go to work, and see if you can get lucky. Because if you're not going to dedicate yourself to the fact that you have to be prepared both mentally and with all your research. So we used to do a lot of different things. I had people that did nothing but chart for me. 3 different disciplines. Like one was a breakout person, one was a reversal person, right? And another person was just strict technical analysis. So what we used to do, because I had about 7 traders who worked for me at the time, they would come in and I backed them all. They were all ex-athletes, too. I always had the ex-athletes, soccer player, football player, baseball player.
I know what you're talking about.
I wanted to get athletes because they knew how to train their mind. Right?
And they were disciplined. Yeah.
There you go, right?
Can you clarify the idea of the discipline and the psychology in the trading? Because if you lost yourself in the pit, or nowadays also in trading, you lost usually. Because emotions and the psychology, this is number one. What helps you in case of the discipline and psychology to win the market?
Well, I didn't have any bad habits. I was 22 years old, made my first $1 million. I didn't do drugs. To me, it was about, I made money. Then the next thing I did was I brought my family down there. I brought my brother down there, my cousins and people I knew. And I had the same routine every day. Weekends I would go out and have a good time. But during the week, it was work, go to the gym, do my charts, and get prepared for the next day, right? I saw too many people who made a lot of money young and ended up losing it all because
usually, yeah, a lot. They don't know how to control. Do you waste any money?
Oh, I wasted a lot of money. I said this and everybody was laughing. I go, the first time I made $4 million in a year, I spent $2 million chasing women and booze and women, right?
Oh my God.
Partying. And the second $2 million, I just spent foolishly.
I don't remember who does say it, but the first million is the hardest one. So started from the second.
Yeah, exactly. There's an old saying about a guy who left $5 million to his son, and his son blew it all.
Blew it all, yeah. Usually this is the common mistake.
Right? But then he got a letter from his dad, and he said, go up in the attic. And he go up in the attic, and there was a rope with a hangman's noose on it. And he was all distraught, right? And he put the rope around his neck and he went to hang himself, and the attic fell in, and there was another $5 million.
Yeah.
And there was a note from his dad. He goes, now you know what to do with the $5 million. Don't just, blow it. Right?
Oh my God.
So that's an old fable that I used to look at. You make some good investments, make some bad investments, but I kept thinking to myself, I hope this lasts for 5 years, right? I mean, where are you going to go and make $1 million in a day, right?
It's a lot.
It was crazy.
Yeah,
and then, you're talking 1987, I was like making $5 million today.
Yeah, it was a different money
Yeah.
back to their days. I get it.
The ultimate place where you compete was me against everybody in the pit, me against the institutional traders, me against my emotions, me against my fears. People don't realize about trading. It's hard to go, with all AI and all this, how can you get good signals for trading, right? Because the two things that I don't care what AI is or isn't, every one of us has a different propensity for fear and greed. So you don't know what your risk tolerance is versus my tolerance. And when you multiply that with all the other traders in the world, the markets don't really act, like we think all the time. Like, in fact, I used to watch guys who came from Harvard MBAs, right? That's our big school, Harvard, right? And they go, yeah, the market's going here. And
nobody knows.
Yeah. And they get in a position, and the next thing I know, right, they're pulling them out. I tell this story, too, about this friend of mine. His name was Jerry Friedman. I tell this story all the time. I see him basically standing there getting for the markets ready, and he's talking to himself. I go, Jerry, what are you, cracking up? He goes, Lewis, I traded on Monday. I made 10 grand. Tuesday, I made 10 grand. Wednesday, I made 4 grand. Thursday, I made 10 grand. And on Friday, I lost it all. I lost 45,000. And I did that 2 weeks in a row. I go, well, where are you going now? He goes, I'm going to go see my psychiatrist and see if I can straighten my brain out. And I said, give me the 300. Here's what you do. Don't trade on Fridays.
Don't trade on Friday. That's what I want to say. Don't trade on Friday.
Don't trade on Fridays, right? You don't need to go to a psychiatrist. I got the answer for you, right?
It's funny that nothing changes during this year. All the same things happens nowadays because I have a data for the hundreds of thousands of traders and everything is the same.
Same.
In
my book, I wrote the 10 Commandments of Trading back in 1996. And everybody's done a version of my trading lessons, but they're all the same. When you go look at people's things, just go back to my 10 Commandments and you'll be fine.
Did you come from a wealthy family?
I did not. So my father was murdered because he was involved in organized crime. He was a truck driver.
How did you raise your kids to become strong when you are already wealthy?
Here's what happens. You try to, everybody wants to provide for their kids, right?
Yeah.
Except in my house, I was born in 1957. It was 1957 in my house. The number one thing I had a couple rules. You have to respect everybody in the family. You got to respect each other. No lying, no drugs. My kids knew if they messed up, there was no coming back from that, right? You know what? It's just about love and communication. My kids saw me go through some bad times. When I got into the healthcare business, I lost $50 million.
Which business, sorry? Healthcare.
Healthcare. When I left the Merck, I got into the healthcare business.
Wow. Why you decided to change trading business to the healthcare industry?
I was looking at the demographics.
Okay.
The baby boomers retiring.
Okay.
So I started buying nursing homes and assisted living and things like that. I always used to say that the Merck was the best thing and the worst thing that happened to me. It was the best thing because I made more money than I ever thought I could in my life. The bad thing was it was so easy. You always think you're going to be making that kind of money, right? And when you get into the real world and you got to do these things, right? And then the other thing is...
And this requires time.
Yeah, I don't like partners. And so I always finance myself, right? So I took big risk and I got big reward. I got big losses, right? I was right. I started buying nursing home beds at $25,000 a bed back in 2004. You know what they go for now? $250,000 a bed.
Wow.
Right. So I was right about the demographics.
But wrong about the timing.
My bank failed in 2014. The bank failed. And then I had guaranteed loans and they called my loans in. So at 58 years old, I had to, thank God I put some stuff away in trust and things like that, but put a real dent in my lifestyle. My kids saw it, saw a dent in their lifestyle, right? My wife's. And then in 2017, I started the cybersecurity business.
Wow.
And like I said, we had 3 employees when we started, and we got 100 now. I mean, I got lucky a couple of times in my life. I mean, literally, I found the CME before everybody else did, right? As it growth. And then I was right about the healthcare business. And you know that I started a company called Archipelago.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So that actually merged with the New York Stock Exchange. I have good instincts, right? Sometimes.
Yeah, by the timing sometimes.
Yeah. So, I mean, that ended up in a 7-year litigation against my ex-partners in Goldman Sachs, which I won a fraud case against. I think that the trading, it's kind of conditioned me for making decisions, cut my losses, and keep going on to the next one, right?
I like this one. Made a decision and cut my losses. Right. This is good. This is so smart.
So I was always conditioned that way. So when you get into the real world and you're making decisions, but you can't pivot that fast.
Yeah,
it's not like just buying and selling.
I know, right?
You got to hire people. You got to fire people. You got to, spend money in marketing. It's a completely different thing. But the one thing that I have is that I had no fear when it came to being an entrepreneur, right? So, I've never worked for anybody. I never had a job. I always worked for myself.
What is your definition of luck?
Luck? My definition of luck, everybody's lucky in their life one time. Identifying that you're lucky and making something out of that. A lot of people look at a guy and say, oh, he got lucky. You know what? If I look at that guy, there's probably a lot of hard work he put behind that. Elon Musk get lucky?
No, we know it.
He's a genius, right? A lot of people sometimes take their luck and they think they're smarter than they are.
Yeah.
Right?
When and why you decided to quit trading?
So back in 2003, with the advent of the E-minis, remember I told you, we hit all the order flow and
Yeah, sure.
Pit, right? As the E-minis got bigger, in 2003 was the first year I ever broke even. Like I didn't make any money. And I said, this is over because we didn't have the edge anymore. All the orders were going on the computer screens. They didn't need to stick their orders into the pit. They could just
the game has changed, completely changed.
Yeah, we were getting partial information. Like anything else, when new products come out, like think about when Bitcoin came out or any of the cryptocurrencies come out. When markets are really inefficient,
it's an opportunity to make money.
Right. But as people get more efficient, they're trading for smaller and smaller profits. And there's a lot more of them doing it. It becomes a really hard game. At that point, I'd been in the game, 23 years. And I was already stressfully, I could pull in the building and I was getting stress headaches, especially when we weren't making money like we used to. So I decided to leave before everybody else, keep my money.
It's super smart to quit before you lost.
Yeah, right.
Because it's not profitable anymore. Wow. I think this is a very good lesson for everyone who already trades, because also in crypto, I started my journey in Forex in back 2008.
Yeah.
Or 2009, I don't remember.
That's a good year to start because of all the market liquidity and volatility.
But I got liquidated first when the nuclear station in Japan, Fukushima, blows up. I got liquidated in a second.
Yeah.
All of my 3 years work was like blown up. Now the crypto market has really changed. Now it's become more and more efficient. And the same things happen here.
Cybersecurity business, right?
Okay.
2017, we started the company. But about 2015, 16, I went to, everybody's telling me about Bitcoin. And I'm going, I'm a Bitcoin trader. They're this trader. I go, how can you be a Bitcoin trader? All you can do is buy it.
Okay.
All right. And they will go, well, we buy it and then we can get out. I go, but you can only trade, you can't go both ways. You have to either buy it and hold and then sell it. I go, that's the only thing you can do. You can't short it. I bought my first Bitcoins at $400.
Okay. It's very low, very low.
Right, in 2016. And then it went up to $1,000. And then it went back down to $400 because the Chinese came out and said, no Chinese people could.
I remember those times.
Yeah. They can't own Bitcoin, right? I didn't buy a lot, about $3,000 worth of Bitcoin. Right?
Okay.
And then in 2017, we opened up the company. And then about 3 months later, I get a call from somebody said, hey, they said you guys are in the cybersecurity business. We got ransomware and we got to come up with $4,000 in Bitcoin. Do you know how to do it? Well, I had a wallet. So I had it. So I negotiated the ransom with the hackers. That was one of our first clients. So they weren't our client. We weren't doing the security on them.
Wow.
But they had to get out. So I said, this is interesting. So I really started getting involved in the dark web. I mean, I spent hours and hours and weeks on the dark web, learning about dark web. How do you get to all the onion sites? How do you get there? Where the hackers are at, where the people are. You can literally buy anything, as you know, on the dark web. You can buy body parts, you can buy bombs, you can buy whatever, right? And the other thing that people don't realize about the dark web, it's literally 90% of the web. When you look about Google, and everything, all the clear web,
sure,
that's only 10% of the market of the
deals
of all the URLs and all the dark web. 90% of it is underground.
Wow,
because it was created by the military, right?
Really?
Yeah, the internet was created by the military.
I guess.
So, but my point is that, so we got lucky. And so I kept some Bitcoin around in case we got other people. Until we had a couple more ransoms, which I negotiated with the hackers. It was funny because one of the CEOs is like, just pay it. I go, nah, we're not going to pay that. He wants 100,000. We ain't paying that. I'm going to pay 50. He goes, Lewis, I got to open my company. I go, he doesn't want to shut your company down. He only wants money. I go, don't let me negotiate this with him. So I went on all night long negotiating.
Wow. Really speaking with the hackers?
Yeah, he's back and forth to our Proton mail.
Okay.
Because they were encrypted, right?
Yeah.
Right. I got him to sell it for $50,000. So the interesting thing that happened to me with Bitcoin.
Okay.
So I started looking at it, right? So in May of 2017, it was sitting around $1,000.
Yeah, sure.
It went from 1,000 to 2,000 in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and then to the 4, and then to
Well,
17.
But what happened? The WannaCry virus came out. So all these countries, 150 companies got hacked all in 1 week.
Oh, really?
Around the whole world.
And they all asked money in Bitcoin.
And all those people were buying the Bitcoin to be able to pay for the ransom.
Okay.
So they can get out of being ransomware.
Okay.
So I go, Bitcoin went up $1,000 in 2 weeks. So I'm going, this thing's a real thing. I just said this on I did a thing for the Secret Service in Chicago. I did a talk. The guy that came up with the fact that there was going to be some sort of currency in the for the internet was Milton Friedman, right? Milton Friedman is my favorite economist in the whole world, right? And he said that the only thing the internet was missing was a digital currency that could be traded between individuals and avoid any government interference, right? And that was in 1995, he said that. As we know, Bitcoin became what it is, and then you had all the, Ripple and all the other stuff. But so going back to 2017, in March and then in October, it went from 2,000 to 4,000. And what it came out? It came out was Equifax. 63 million records were leaked of United States citizens around the world. And boom, boom, the hackers were losing all this personal data. They were taking, so the way it works is that people who will hack it will put people's personal data.
Open internet.
Yeah, they'll put it on the dark web and they'll sell it, right? And it's like, for example, if you have medical records go for $500 a record, depending how clean they are.
So how does it help?
Because they got everybody's information. If you got a medical record, you got my name, my address, what medicines I'm on, what's my social security number, what bank do I use, what credit card.
Oh, that's why it's so important to
so they can take it and
to protect it.
Right, and then they can steal people's identities. But the one thing that was in the back of my mind, and if you go back to my link back then, my LinkedIn, I wrote 2 articles that said Bitcoin's here to stay. It's the leading economic indicator for cybercrime. And then the Merck came out with futures. And when the Merck came out with futures, I said, I think Bitcoin's going to 10,000. From 10,000, it's going to 20,000. And after that, I don't have an opinion. It went to 20, came back down to, from 20, it went back down to like 4,000, right? It went from 20 to 4. And then here we are at 100.
Here, 120 today, 124.
Right. And now, when you think about anonymity for hackers, there's so many people and so many wallets out there. And on top of the fact that U.S. jurisdiction can't go into Russia, they can't go into Korea.
Yeah, sure, they
can't
cannot.
go into North Korea, they can't go into Iran. So, it's the perfect currency for crime.
What interesting definition of Bitcoin, perfect currency for crime. I have never, ever thought about it.
Well, I think people are using it for now they're using it as an investment. And now you see that Trump and
a lot of institutional money goes there. It's crazy.
When all the way back down there, you would have saw you saw BlackRock buying it. You saw all
and the money flows. Yeah. So
right. Then they got them approved for 401ks. And what's the estimate? They think it's going to go to $1 million. Who knows?
Did you sell your Bitcoins?
I still got a few. I was lucky. That was you talk about lucky. I was lucky.
It's not only about luck. It's about seeing the big picture and connecting the dots.
Well,
it's about experience.
Well, connecting my trading experience with what I was seeing in front of me in my new career.
Yeah.
Right. So and it was funny because now, like, when I deal with CISOs and these tech guys, I used to think that the biggest egos on the planet were traders.
I'm 100% agree with you.
You think that? Wait till you meet cybersecurity engineers. They think they're all geniuses.
Oh.
They don't think they're right. And I go, well, if you're so right, then why'd you get hacked?
Back to this year, it was a very big leak of the crypto exchange. I think you heard they steal more than 1.5 billion in ETH. So it was crazy.
It's crazy. I'm a little skeptical about some of the cryptocurrencies. I don't like the idea that the government's getting in them. Right. For example, these central bank digital currency. I'm totally against that. It's the only way to control us.
Yeah, I know. I think they still control all their bank accounts, etc. I don't know how it happens here in the US, but in Dubai or in Russia, where I'm from, they can block wherever you want, any amount.
They can do whatever they want. Well, they did it in Canada when they were having all the protests.
So it looks like They don't need this cryptocurrency to.
Well, it'll be a lot
to control
easier.
it.
It'll be a lot easier, right? If we're all on the same digital currency, I don't know. I think it's going to be bad.
What do you think about the other part of the internet? Because I'm the representative of the Europe world. Have you ever been in, I don't know, Russia, maybe Europe?
Yeah. I got some interesting stories about Russia.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you share it with me?
So in 1990, I had a person work for me. His name was Otto.
Okay.
He was from Budapest.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And he literally was helping me. So we had a company, my partners and I. It was me, Jack Sander, Maury Kravitz, a guy named Jimmy Kalanis, and we filled orders in the two exchanges. So we had the CME, and then we had the Board of Trade.
Okay.
So we had brokers who would literally fill orders, and then they would get paid like $2 a contract. We had gotten all the business, so we would do a 50-50 split with them. They would keep $1, we would keep $1, we would pay the expenses.
Very good business.
Yeah, it was a great business. We were filling thousands of contracts a month. So Otto, believe it or not, back in 1990, he was talking to me about AI. He said,
back in 1990,
he's looking at me, he goes, we got to find a way, we could do AI. You're the best trader. Let me stand next to you. I go, you're going to stand next to me? He goes, yeah. He goes, and when you make a trade, I'll ask you a few questions. I'm trading 2,000 contracts a day. And when the market's busy, I'm moving, right? And he's going, why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? Right. After about 3 days, I took my pencil and I stabbed him in the forehead. And I said, get out of here, Pit. Get out of here. You can't do this anymore, right? He had connections with the Russian trading arm because his father-in-law was an arms dealer. We went to New York and we met with all the Russian different, it was like Prototorg and the grain traders, the wheat traders, the cattle traders, the pork belly traders. And what I was trying to do is get all of those records. I want to get all those orders because they did millions and millions of contracts a year, right? So we were trying to get their futures business. What they did is they Gorbachev was president, so they got me a visa to be able to go to Moscow. We leave Chicago on a night, and now the Persian Gulf War hadn't started yet, but the conflict was there, right? And so when we get to New York, I say to the pilot, so I had Otto and I had another guy who worked for me. All three of us were going. I say to the pilot, what's going on with the Persian Gulf War? He goes, oh, we just started bombing. I go, in the Persian Gulf War? I go, really? So I tell Otto and Steve, you guys go to Russia. I'm going to stay here, go back to Chicago because the market's going to be crazy. So I stayed around. The markets were crazy. I made about $300,000, in 2 days. So I was like, I made a good decision. The Russians were mad that I didn't show up because they really wanted to talk to me. I didn't know really, I thought, I'll come back. I'll go, give me another visa. It's not that easy, right? I ended up going to Budapest a month later. And first time that I've ever been to Eastern Europe, right? And Budapest at the time, back in 1990, was like the Switzerland for all the Eastern Bloc countries, right? This is one of my most vivid memories in my life. So we go, Otto and I go to meet the Russians at the Budapest Stock Exchange.
Okay.
Right? It's the old Drexel Burnham offices. Now, Drexel Burnham was a brokerage firm at one time, but they were famous for being Michael Milliken, who was king of the junk bonds, who ended up going to jail. But it was the Drexel Burnham offices in Budapest, right? And by the way, when I got there, I couldn't believe the beauty, the big old castles. And I'm looking at castles, I go, wow, those are beautiful. Those are churches. He goes, yeah, those are casinos now. And all the women look like Rocky's girlfriend from
from
Rocky
the movie.
Yeah, the blonde, what's her name? Bridget Nielsen. So we go to the meeting, and three guys walk in. These Russians look like something right out of the KGB. I mean, literally, they walk in. Otto and the Russians are speaking Russian.
Russian.
Yeah. And I'm like,
oh my God, what they're talking about.
I don't know what they're talking about. And I'm sitting in there going like this. I'm thinking the KGB's behind these guys. Right? What do you know? I grew up hiding under desks thinking the Russians were going to bomb us. What happened was they sat down and I said, listen, if someone doesn't speak English, I'm leaving. And they looked at me and said, okay, we speak little bit. They had the Russian accent. It's sort of like yours. You got a way better accent though.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. So, I said, well, what do you guys want me to do? They said, well, we're gonna give you $100 million worth of Russian money, and it's going to be in gold sitting in Switzerland. We want you to change it to dollars. And we want you to go to Andorra and set up 2 trading companies. One will be the Russian company and one will be our company. I go, well, what would you like me to do? We like you to use the 100 million from the Russian company to our company. And I go, and what am I going to get for this? They go, we're going to give you 20%. I go, you're going to give me 20 million from losing money from one account to another account? They go, yeah. I go, okay. Why? They go, communism is going to fall. And I'm like, now I'm mad at Otto. Right? I go, you wasted my time. We came here. These guys are telling me, there's not even I go, communism's going to fall without a shot? Like nobody's going to say, no, we're not going to fall? And so I had to go back, tell my partners, I spent a lot of money on the trip. I go, guess what? Communism's going to fall. As fate has it, communism fell. And, Otto didn't work for me anymore. I ran into him like 2 years later.
But you remember this meeting?
Yeah. And I said, hey, what happened to the
guys?
100 million? He goes, communism fell too fast.
It's very smart. That's for nothing good.
Yeah. But this was typical of what was going on in the 90s I'll say like from 90 to 2000. Every Russian you met had a deal for 100 million.
Really?
I got 100 million to do gold, 100 million to do this. Every month. So, and when you think about it, then I got a real story that happened in 1996. But, you think about all the emerging countries, and when you think about how they had all these weapons, they had all Russian guns and Russian tanks and Russian missiles. Well, when the Soviet Union fell, those guys were selling that stuff on the black market, billions and billions of dollars worth of equipment. In 1996, I started the first NASDAQ stock trading room in Chicago. Familiar with the So's Bandits?
No.
All right. So what we started was where retail traders could trade on the level 2 machine.
What is level 2 machine?
So level 2 was NASDAQ. Any company that's listed on the NASDAQ, then we could, you had to either buy the bid, buy the offer, or sell the bid. And all the market makers, Raymond James, Goldman, Thompson, all these, they were always the market. Retail traders were able to, what you call SOs, a market maker. If you SOs a market maker, they had to make you good for 1,000 shares. So we started that first one in Chicago. They were already on the East Coast, but we started in Chicago. And then while we were there, we were partners with the company was called Realtek, and Realtek was owned by Margaret and Stuart Townsend. And then what we did then is that the NASDAQ had a CTCI, computer interface. So we started writing the first point and click, where you could just, instead of, when we first opened the company, our traders would yell out to the guy in the beginning of the room going, hey, buy me 1,000 shares of Microsoft. And he'd have to type it in and buy it on the 2 machine. So we figured out how we can make it point and click, where you could just...
Faster.
Yeah, faster, right? And then when you figured that out, we were able then to open up trading rooms around the country, as long as you had a broker-dealer and all this, right? So that's what we were doing. So one day, in 1996, I see a wire come across from a lady who owned a bank in Andorra, and she lived in Naples, Florida. Because I forgot to tell you, when they told me to open an account in Andorra, I didn't know where Andorra was. I go, where the hell is Andorra at? I had no idea, right? It's in between the Pyrenees and Spain, right?
In Europe.
And all that's where they go. That's where all the Russian smugglers put their money, in Andorra.
In Andorra, because you remember, I get it.
Yeah, right. So I see this lady. She owns a Bank of Andorra,
100 million account.
Yeah. So I call her up. I go, Mary. Her name was Mary. I go, you own a bank in Andorra? She goes, yeah. I go, well, how did that happen? You're an American citizen. She goes, oh, my husband is partners with a guy in London, and we own a bank. And my husband passed away, and I'm still the guy. So now I start looking at the Bank of Andorra because I'm thinking I'm going to open up a hedge fund, and if I wanted to do it overseas, I might as well do it in a tax-free haven, right? I go down to Florida and visit with her, and she goes, well, you should go visit my partner who's in London, but really not in London. He's in the south in the English Channel.
Okay.
Right? I go, well, what do you mean he's in the English Channel? So I remember I was looking for you.
English Channel, the channel between France and English?
Yeah.
France and England?
Yeah, but they had these, in those English channels, there's a fort There's 4 forts that were built in the 1800s. I'll show you a picture of them. But these forts were these cylinder forts. And they had chains that would go from one fort to the other. And what it was doing was preventing anybody from sailing through the English Channel. If you did, your keel would get stuck on the chain, their guns would come out, and they'd sink.
That's why from all the sides, I get it, from the both sides of the river.
Yeah. So let me show you this. So see that one right there?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if you can get it on the camera.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's interesting.
So one guy bought one. The rest were owned by the English government. One guy privatized it in the 80s.
Wow.
I go to London, drive down to the English Channel. I get on a tugboat, go out to this fort. I'm spending a weekend with this guy, and he's asking me about what I do, my trading. Can you move money? Can you do this? Can you do that? And I go, yeah, we can do a lot of those things. I just don't know what you want me to do. And he goes, well, and I asked him how he made all his money. What do you do? And he was laughing at me because I pay a lot of taxes. He goes, I've never paid any taxes.
I never paid any taxes. Yeah.
So he was a Scottish guy too. And he was partners with Alman Khashoggi, who I didn't even know who that was at the time. But he was the biggest arms dealer in the 80s and the 90s.
Wow.
In fact, Alman Khashoggi sold his yacht to Trump.
Wow.
Yeah. So back in the 90s. So here I am on this, I'm on a fort for the weekend with this guy I didn't even know.
That's how the life goes.
Yeah.
You will never predict.
But I'm glad I didn't get involved because either I'd be a billionaire or dead.
Or that. That's how it works. What makes you happy?
That's the simplest question in the world. Right?
Family.
You know, my family. You know, when they say, where's your favorite place in the world to be? I just say, wherever my family's at is my favorite place in the world.
I know. And what can you say to the youngest generation of the traders? Because you had all of this experience, you are a representative of this beautiful generation when you feel of this energy, because now a lot of guys, they just feel only, they do not feel this energy of the floor.
Right.
They just sitting in front of their laptop or even with their phone and just trading charts. That's all. What can you say to
it's probably indicative of the whole Gen Z population, right? They've lost the ability to be personal. Right? If you're going to be a trader, you got to understand it has the highest highs and lowest lows. There's nothing like when you have a great day in trading.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. The highest highs, the lowest lows.
The exhilaration, but when you...
And it will affect all of your life.
Yes, and if, like my wife would know by the way I walked in the door and shut the door, whether I had a good day or a bad day. If I had a bad day, she would get all the kids and get them out of there, right? The independence that trading can create. I mean, with my children, I was their coach for football and baseball and soccer. And, you know, I bought a plane. I bought a house up in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. I'll buy that plane if you teach me how to fly it. So in the summers, I would fly back and forth from Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, which is about an hour and a half from here, right to Chicago and to Maxfield, trade half the day.
And then fly back.
Be back by noon and be on the boat with my kids. Boat, skiing, water and sports, jet skis, all those things, right? We had a wonderful life together up there.
One of the differences was that you had a limited time to trade. Your trading period was, I don't know, from 9 to 5.
Well, here's the thing. Sometimes the pit would, when the bell rang at 8:30, by 8:40, I was up. And towards the end,
really?
Yeah, but towards the end of my career, the last 10 years, I would say, I didn't trade as much. I mean, I had a goal. If I make 5,000 a day, I'm gone.
Really?
Yeah. So sometimes,
this is a discipline.
Yeah. If I was up by the bell rang at 8:30, by 9:15, if I was up $5,000 or more, see you later. If you saw me there past 9:15, it means I was down money and I was trying to get in.
What was your stop loss for the day? If you get a goal for the 5,000?
Well, my goal was always to make 5,000.
Is it any days that you don't?
Well, I mean, there could be days that you lost, but I was pretty good. I never really got caught. I mean, a couple of days where you lost 100 grand or 50 grand, but I was real consistent. I used to look at 5 to 10,000 a day. At the end of the month, I had another 100,000 in my trading account again. And
I do the same. For me, the goal is around 7,000 usually. I don't know why and how does it work, but if with my size of trade, etc., if I get 7,000 per day, it's good.
Yeah.
I'm good. And this is
It's over $1 million a year.
it looks like this magic 7,000, something that I don't like this, that I cannot predict, that it looks like sometimes I can, let's say, see these movements that gain me 7,000, not less, not more, but yeah, it's interesting. I had a good friend of mine, he's a crazy guy. He's now 29 years old. I saw him made from 300 to 3 million in 5 days.
300,000?
To the 300,000 to the 3 million in 5 days, and then he lost everything in next 2 days. And I saw him repeated this 3 times this year.
He did it the same way.
Same way, from 2 to 300 to I don't know 2 or 3 million, and then lost it.
Yeah,
The 40,000.
I had like if I had a couple bad days, trading days in a row where I lost money, I would go out and buy something like a new car or go buy.
Yeah, this is.
And then they go, well, why would you do that? Because I go, now you realize this is money. This is what you.
This is money when you withdraw it. Yeah.
Right. Whatever it takes. But it's so hard. Like when, like I used to run my life. I used to look at my secretary and go, what are the bills for the month? 50,000. All right, I'll be back. Go down to the floor, come back up, pay the bills.
I like this way. Wow.
And so.
I do the same. Sometimes I do the same. Yeah.
But it was like an ATM machine for us at times. Every year I just got better at doing what I was doing. I understood the markets. I understood the people. I understood the body language. All that stuff I could translate very quickly. Quickly became like legendary for how I conducted myself and what I did.
How does it help?
I think all the things that I did, I was filling orders. So if I got an order to buy 2,000, I didn't care about size. Right. So I got whether I was doing it for somebody else or doing it for myself. A lot of people are uncomfortable when you start doing bigger numbers. Like I've seen a lot of smaller traders doing 1 lots, 2 lots, 3 lots.
It was okay. When it's 100,
they're doing consistency, right? And they're making money every day. The time when they try to go from a 5 lot to a 10 lot to a 20 lot, the added risk clouds their judgment. And when it clouds their judgment, they make bad mistakes, right? So these are the kind of things that you learn and you mature as a trader. Like I said, it's the highest highs and lowest lows. I mean, there were times I'd be waking up in the middle of the night. My wife be sitting there and I would be like this. And 4 days in a row, I lost money. And I would wake up like, what the? And I go, I lost it. I can't do it anymore. And my wife would go, what's wrong? I go, I don't know. I had 4 losing days. I don't know if I could do this anymore. She goes, you better, because I just spent 20,000 in Neiman Marcus.
What is interesting for me that everything is the same as it was 30 years ago, 15 years ago. Nowadays, everything is the same. When was the last day when you trade?
2003.
You have never, ever since 2003 made any deals?
Not day trading.
No day trading.
Just all long-term.
What is your definition of the day trading? Because now it changed a lot.
You got to find markets that are liquid. You got to find markets that are volatile. If you're going to be a day trader, the worst you can do is be trying to trade a market that has no movement.
It's so smart because usually when the market is not moving, you become bored and this day you lost money.
And you overtrade.
Right. I get it.
I forgot to tell you that, I went to Moscow in 2000.
2000. It was a different Moscow.
Yeah.
Anyway, now it's completely different. Maybe you had a chance to watch some of the videos, I don't know, on YouTube. It was from Tucker Carlson or someone else.
Yeah.
It's completely different.
Well, let me tell you something. This is an interesting story.
Okay.
I don't know if you got more time.
No, we have unlimited time, and I'm always open for the good story.
So my partner at the exchange was Jack Sander. And Jack Sander literally was what they call a double domer for Notre Dame. Double donor, Notre Dame College.
Okay.
He went to undergrad.
Okay.
And then he went to law school at Notre Dame.
Oh, okay, I get it.
He became one of their famous graduates.
Sure.
My goddaughter wanted to go to St. Mary's.
Okay.
Which is the girls' school next to Notre Dame before they let women in. I help her get into Notre Dame. While she's there, she falls in love with this Russian guy who was on the soccer team.
Oh.
And they get married.
Wow.
His mother was a curator of the Lenin Museum. His father was the head of the Russian soccer team. He was that, and then he became the Russian representative on FIFA.
Wow.
All right. He was very politically connected. when I went there in 2000, she got me a personal, a woman took me around Moscow, and I'm like, where did all these churches come from? We were like, I thought they burnt all these down. And you realize, like Tucker Carlson said, the propaganda that we grew up with, right?
Yes.
And this lady was like my age, and she's telling me, we thought the Americans were going to come and ruin our way of life. I go, well, they were telling us you guys are coming to ruin our way of life.
Yeah, it's right? The same way.
They gave me a private tour of the Kremlin because when communism fell, the curator of the Lenin Museum and her hid all the artifacts, the Lenin artifacts, in the basement of the Kremlin because they were ready to burn down the Lenin Museum.
Wow.
So, I mean, I saw the gold down there. I had the most incredible time, but I was invited by there was about a dozen of us invited to talk about the commodity markets in 2000. To this day is one of my most favorite trips that I ever took because it was such a learning experience.
I had the same for me in the US because I had the chance to travel around the world. Yeah. When I earned my first big amount of money, as I told you, 2023, we generated a good amount of money. I decided that I can make a trip worldwide, and I spent more than 6 months in the US. Wow. I had the chance to visit Alaska also. I spent 2 weeks.
I've never been there.
I really recommend it. If you had a chance, visit it during the summertime. You have a very interesting experience. We fly the planes, fly the helicopters. We go on kayaks between the ice, visited different glaciers from the water, from the jet ski. So it was unbelievable.
I'm sure it was.
And I had a chance to travel a lot around the US also, all the way from the Miami to Boston. It took me 2 months on a car. Usually people can go in a week. From my experience, my trip to the US was one of the best memories in my life because I had a chance to feel this culture and to feel these people. So it's amazing.
When I was in Russia, I was going to fly a Megs. You could fly the Megs jet.
Yeah.
For $10,000.
I know.
Right? And then I was going to do it because I flew my own plane.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking and I'm going, what if they don't keep the maintenance up on this thing?
No, it's much cheaper to fly a Meg. Yeah, I get it. I'm dreaming to become also a pilot of the small aviation here in the US. How does it feel to control a plane? Because I do skydive. I'm an experienced skydiver. I fly in a wingsuit, so I know how to feel it by yourself, but I have never ever controlled a plane.
You know what? That's the only thrill when you fly a plane. You know what they say? It's hours and hours of boredom.
Okay.
And 5 minutes of terror. But, taking off and landing.
Taking off and landing. Yeah,
when you're up there, it's like, it's nothing.
It's safe. I get it.
I did it not for the junkie. It allowed me to spend my life with my family up in Lake Geneva.
Wow.
I could fly in the morning and be back, and I built this beautiful home on the lake.
In Geneva, across the ocean.
No, Lake Geneva is in Wisconsin. So it's
in Wisconsin. Sorry, I was like Geneva.
No, you're
Switzerland. In Switzerland.
It's named after Geneva, because it looks like Geneva. And then I bought, like anything else, you buy a plane, then you got to get a bigger plane, then you got to get a pressurized plane.
Wow.
Right.
Have you ever landed a plane on the water?
No, but that seems, people do that on the lake all the time. I see them with the pontoons and so on. They do them in Canada, Alaska. They do. That's how they.
Yeah, a lot.
Right. Anyway, this has been enjoyable. Hopefully I didn't sound uninteresting.
So one more time, thanks for this conversation. It was amazing, and I'm really happy that we can share an experience of the traders between the generations. I think this is the most important because one more time, I see how all these young people, 20 years old, 18 years old, they made all the same mistakes with a grit.
The young people today, they either want to be an influencer or a trader.
Or traders, because trading now becomes super popular. In some way, I call it trading become new legal gamble. Yeah. Something like this. But the technologies evolve so much. And the same things I see that you described in the beginning of our conversation, that if you want to be a trader, you need to fully commitment to this. You need to spend all your time doing all the things. And also now you have all the technologies that allow you to be, let's say, in a pit in the floor but using only your laptop, because you can see all these orders, all of these deals, etc. And I understood why you make money, because usually the 99% of the market, they're not super efficient.
No.
They do not use, I don't know, in a modern one, they do not use limit orders.
Yeah.
They just buy and sell with the market orders and sell around 2% on every deal. That's how it goes now.
Yeah.
In the crypto world.
The other thing is going to be interesting is AI is shortening the learning so that they can do more things. I started doing AI models.
They now trade. I had a company that trade with AI.
Well, research is going to be shortened, right?
Sure.
So if you were spending $200,000 on research, you could do the same thing for $5,000.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting because, you know what hallucinations are?
No.
So when AI doesn't have an answer,
Okay.
it gives you an educated guess.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Educated guess. Wow.
Right. So mostly when they're talking about guys that are using AI to program,
Okay.
right? It's called VIPE programming.
Yeah, by programming.
Right. So when you do the VIPE programming, if AI doesn't have an answer, it'll give you its best answer. Right.
Wow.
So one thing that's happening in when you're doing applications, the hackers are seeing this and they're embedding ransomware or some sort of vulnerability into the code. And AI doesn't know what's happening, then AI ends up
Again and
reproducing.
again, just reproduce
So-
it. Wow.
So I don't know what's going to happen with trading, because if it doesn't have an answer, it's going to make it up.
You know, it's very interesting because I have a very good friend of mine who developed AI for the trading, and they use the very popular models like Gemini, ChatGPT, etc. Not ChatGPT, but GPT model, original one. And what they see that after the latest updates, it looked like that these big companies, they decided that they really want to get involved in a trading field, and it looks like they adapt the algorithms. So it started to answer in a wrong way. That's what we see, really.
Yeah.
Really, the next day after ChatGPT 5 was released, all the trading predictions with the AI was completely broke.
Well, we'll see.
Okay, guys, we're done for today. Thanks for watching. It was Headliners, the largest trading podcast. See you next episode.